All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Closing Chamber with Empire Title. Today I have a very special guest, our good friend Sasha from New Western. How are you, Sasha?
I'm doing really good. How
And
are
what's
you?
going on? Is this your first podcast?
Yes.
It is? All right, awesome. I'm glad we get to get you on the first time. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Sasha. What do you do?
So I am actually a acquisition agent for New Western. So my main job is to acquire properties, work negotiations, and kind of oversee an overall success buy to close.
Beautiful. And so tell me, also we have another special guest. Who's that?
This is Nigel Barker, my little rescue pup. He's 8 years old, and I've had him for about 5 years now.
Awesome. He's the first dog to be on our podcast as well. So we've got two new things going on. So, Sasha, tell us, what are the challenges of being a wholesaler?
Some of the challenges that we have are just finding motivated sellers, also lead gens. Just kind of, we have unique ways of finding both properties, keeping relationships with our buyers in a ever-changing market. Those are most of our challenges that we face.
And what would you say, like, the biggest opportunities are for wholesaling?
Our biggest opportunities for me personally is, number one, working with a wide range of clients, both realtors, investors, new investors, big budgets, small budgets, and then also the type of properties that I come in contact with. We experience full gut jobs to just a cosmetic, and it's really nice to kind of challenge yourself and to overcome those.
And so we know that the real estate market is constantly changing, right? And so we're in a very weird time, right? We have an election year coming, and so we've seen rates go real high, and we've seen them start to dip here lately. So tell me how the real estate market right now is impacting wholesaling.
The market right now is mainly if you're flipping when you're investing. On that flip side, when you're looking for a traditional buyer, I feel that is the most impactful for our investors because if you're a cash investor, you're not really worried about interest rates. And then with the rise of interest rates, that also means that there's a rise of more renters. So sometimes investors can see, they change their strategy maybe from flipping to buy and holds. So just as we have to stay very informed in the market so we can kind of, guide our investors to the best outcome of their strategy.
I see. Yeah, I mean, it's all about adjusting, and I feel like a lot of investors have adjusted lately. With high rates come high rents, and so maybe they're not cash flowing as much, but I think the benefit would probably be when those rates start to drop. I don't think those rents are going to drop anymore. They're there.
Yeah.
I think the market created those rents, and so kind of like, renters are now stuck with these rents, and luckily for landlords, the rates dropping, more cash flow.
Exactly.
Right. So now I'll tell you, I don't know how much you know, but I started wholesaling when I first got into real estate.
Okay.
And so one thing that I'll tell you is during my time of wholesaling, I only encountered men wholesaling. And so very, very few women were wholesaling. How do you feel being a woman impacts you in the wholesaling world?
Being a woman in a pretty traditionally male-dominated field is challenging, but it's also very empowering because I have found that I've created kind of my own niche as far as how I approach both, investors that are used to dealing with a male or, coming up with rehabs and talking about, different types of shingles to hot water tanks to condensers and, sounding confident in what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I feel that my approach has, I maintain, being a lady as well as, always educating myself. And I think that's what kind of makes me stand out in the market, is that I'm not afraid to, face a challenge and, educate myself so I can sound confident when I talk about it.
Nice. I like that. If you notice, I would say the 80% of real estate agents are women. I'm probably right. That ratio is like pretty up there. I've always felt like women can sell, if, for some reason, like men just gravitate towards a woman that's selling. And I'm like, man, I feel like if I had a girl sell this deal, it will fly off the shelf. Do you feel that's kind of true?
I do feel in certain cases that is true. Always, it kind of depends on your tactic on when you're selling. I can be very persuasive if I need to. But as far as like a deal with investors, like the numbers don't lie. So as long as you know your numbers, you can move some properties.
That's true. Yeah. Okay, so I want to hear a story, right? So we all have the story of our first deal. I think to me, it's, I just never forget. I don't care how old I get. I'm never going to forget my first real estate deal.
Yeah.
So I want to hear about your first real estate deal.
Okay. So my first real estate transaction happened about 2 months into me working at New Western. And it was a property located in the Brookside neighborhood. So a very desirable neighborhood.
Yes.
And it was a hot one. So, everyone's like, oh, calling their dealer. Not their dealer.
Their dealer? Okay. We're selling houses here.
Calling their
just
investors.
in case you guys are wondering.
But anyway, so I shot out an email blast to all my investors and then was starting to make calls. And I actually received a call on a property. And this investor was like, hey, I want this. And I was like, maintaining my composure. And I was like, all right, do you need to see this? And so he was like, yeah, I'm on my way from Oklahoma City. So I meet him about an hour and a half later. And we walk into the property, literally through the living room, into the kitchen. And he's like, all right, I'll take it. And so inside, I'm freaking out. I'm like super excited. I'm nervous. And we walk out of the house. And I was like, all right, I already sent you the contract. So we're just signing contracts, sending earnest money right there over the phone in the front yard. And then I give him a handshake and I leave and I'm driving on my way to the office. And we have to like basically post the contract and the earnest money that it's been received. And I do that and I'm like so excited. And I get back to the office and all the guys are like, cheering me on. And part of our deal is whenever you do your first transaction, you take a shot. So
Okay.
I take a shot with my old GM, and it was so exciting. It was with a huge investor, and I also will never forget because I was like, I finally used my real estate license.
Yeah. Were you like after you he said yes, on your drive back to the office, where you're like, yeah.
I was.
Were you bumping some gangster music? Yeah.
I was definitely bumping some gangster music. Like I was like, oh yeah, I got this. Now I'm official.
Hell yeah. No, that's awesome. Okay, so but that's only part of the deal, right?
Right.
So, I know that anything can happen, right? You still have 30 days to close this deal. But all right, so the 3 weeks or whatever passed by and it's closing day, right?
Yeah.
So you wake up on closing day, what's going through your mind?
I am very excited. I'm also nervous. I'm like a very controlled person, so I like to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And that morning I wake up and I call my investor and I'm like, hey, we're set up for 1:00. And he's like, oh, I'm out of town. And I was like, oh my gosh. So immediately I call our closer and I'm like, he's paying cash. So we actually worked it out where he could DocuSign it. So
Beautiful.
It was still smooth. There was a little bit of panic, but overall we got it done and I was very thankful, excited, and told my investor, I was like, you're my first house I ever sold. So
After it closed?
Yeah. after it closed.
Yeah.
So every time we see each other now, he's like, I was your first. Like,
Oh my God. Yeah. First sale. Yes.
first sale.
All right. And then so after what did it do for like your self-esteem? Like after you closed that first deal? Cause I know like people that I've mentored some people and then also myself and stuff. Like after my first deal, dude, I felt like I could sell anything.
Yeah, honestly, I felt the exact same way. I felt such a huge confident boost because I was very nervous getting into this role and getting into the investment world and working with all guys. I was the only female in our office. I still am. And so I felt like it definitely gave me a confidence boost. I felt a little more respected, actually, even in my office. Like, yes, I can do it. And it just pushed me to want more. Like, I got that one transaction knocked out, and I was like, shoot, I can do this again. Like, this is fun.
Yeah, and so that gave you more confidence, obviously, to then start going after more deals and more deals and more deals. And it just kept going. Mm-hmm. I like that. So tell me, what did you do before you even got into real estate? What were you doing?
So before I got into real estate, I was actually a student at Spartan, obtaining my pilot's license.
Dude, I've always wanted to fly a plane. Always. So and how long were you there?
I was there a year. So I got my pilot's license. I flew through instrument, and I'm about halfway through commercial.
Oh, so you're still doing it?
I am still doing it. I'm no longer a student at Spartan, but I fly now just private, like with instructors that can keep logging my hours in my logbook. But
that is awesome.
Yeah.
And so what made you stop that though and go into real estate?
Well, at that time of my life, I was personally experiencing a lot of challenges, and going to that school is not cheap, I will tell you that.
Really?
And so I was doing really well there, and it had a lot of my focus, so it was making it difficult to both fly, stay focused, and work to make money to pay bills. Mm-hmm. And so I'd always been very attracted to real estate. I had property management background. So I just one day was like, you know what? I'm going to get my real estate license. Maybe I can do this a little part-time, make some, cash some checks here and there. And that's really what, I think during going into the winter months of flying really just was like, okay, this is kind of a downtime. So it's going to allow me to have this time to study and get my real estate license. And then I got it, and it was just took off from there.
And so, okay, so let's say, you keep flying and you get into commercial. Would you consider a commercial job?
At this point, probably not, honestly. I was really about it, but now I truly feel like I'm right where I need to be. I'm very much a people person. I love networking. I love, painting the picture of, especially working in the types of homes where it looks kind of busted. And I just go in there and I'm like, oh my gosh, imagine this. I have that mind of imagination, and the energy just bursts out of me. And I feel like a lot of people like working with me because of that. I'm not afraid to go into, a crazy looking property, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this has so much potential. And
So tell me, what advice would you have for a first-time wholesaler?
My advice would be to definitely do your research. Ask as many questions as you can. Network as much as you can, because it is not easy. It looks, when you're good at it, it looks easy, just like with anything when you've, trained for it, worked for it, educated yourself. But I feel that people think that it's very easy to do some negotiating, get some contracts.
Yeah.
It's not. And just stay persistent, network, and really, really, really ask questions. Asking questions to people that are already in that field is probably the best thing that anybody can do.
I like that. And so where do you see yourself as far as being in real estate, let's say 5 years down the road? What's your goal?
So 5 years down the road, I definitely want to own some properties myself. My current GM, he owns quite a few different properties, and working with someone that is so young and that has like that type of ambition is really motivating for me. And so I like the team that I'm around. I mean, I want to be in management eventually at New Western. I really love the company. So just being higher up in a more leadership role and then owning properties myself is really where I see myself going, definitely.
And so if one of our viewers says, I want to sell my house to Sasha, how can they reach you?
They can reach me on my social media platforms, which I have Instagram. It's Selling Toll Sasha. So it's Selling Tulsa. It's Sasha.
We'll put it in the comment in case you guys get confused, but go ahead.
And then also just my phone number, which is 918-904-1764. And you can find me on Facebook under Sasha Guhrke.
Awesome. I got one last question for you. Who's the title company that told you to go and see?
Empire Title.
All right. Thank you. I really want to appreciate you and all the business you've brought to Empire. We love working with you. I know Shauna really likes working with you too. And so you've been great. And I'm really hopeful that we can continue this relationship down the road.
Yeah. Thank you guys. You guys are great as well.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And you guys have a blessed day.